Welcome to Alaska Weather. This is Holloway for the National Weather Service on July 11th, 2022. A couple of options for you to further refine your weather search. 1-800 number gets you into a phone menu system, and weather.gov/Alaska gets you into the World Wide Web. Lastly, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email us at the email list at the bottom of the page. For the fire weather update today from Alaska Interagency Coordination Center, we do have some fire growth expected to be rapid on fires in western interior tonight and tomorrow with strong northwest winds. Tuesday brings cooler and damper trend for interior Alaska. Alaska remains very warm and dry. Lightning ignitions will decrease as thunderstorm activity slows, and for the outlook, cooler and damper weather will help moderate fire growth, but several days of widespread and substantial rains are needed for long-term effects. And speaking of which, we have some red flag warnings out for until around midnight for a large portion of the interior. Also, we have some pretty good thunderstorms through the Alaska Range, and that's producing some possibilities pretty good showers in a short period of time, so a watch has been issued for that. But otherwise, some red flag warnings again out for portions of the south central area and eastern interior, so please check those before you head on outside. Looking at the satellite information, you can see that low pressure system pulling into the Bristol Bay region. It'll cross into the Gulf of Alaska over the next couple of days. We also have a weakening low pressure system there just off the coast of the Panhandle. Otherwise, you can see some pretty good developments in the thunderstorm activities through the interior there, creating that watch that was issued for pretty good thunder showers. So what does this look like on the surface map? We got high pressure out there in eastern Russia, 1017 to 1016, high ridge of high pressure. And we also have a low pressure system there near Bristol Bay, 1005 millibars there with a occluder front and triple point. And we also have that low pressure system in the Gulf of Alaska producing some rainfall over there. And there's the thunder activity, thunderstorms, and some smog and smoke for portions of the interior, and fog along the north slope. For tonight's weather, looking at that low in the Bristol Bay to pull in closer there. Otherwise, it's on its easterly track. Weakening low in the Gulf of Alaska. High pressure out there in the Bering Sea. Fog along the northwest coast and into the Seward Peninsula. And that little cold front passing through the Brooks Range, producing some mixed precipitation and below normal temperatures there. Otherwise, some smoke and thunderstorms are expected into tonight's weather across the interior. For Tuesday's weather, that low crosses the Alaska Peninsula, 1000 millibars there. And we are expecting continued thunderstorms into Tuesday. And then with that thermal low and instability going on there. Otherwise, mixed precipitation continues across the Brooks Range, high pressure in the Bering Sea, up through the northwest coast, and lingering showers over the Panhandle. And finally, over to Wednesday, looking at that low to somewhat strengthen in the Gulf of Alaska with a occluder front, some moderate rain ahead of that system, otherwise rain showers in the Panhandle. And we still have a little bit of a chance of thunderstorms in the eastern interior on Wednesday, otherwise some rain showers across the region. And continued mixed precipitation across the Brooks Range. High pressure dominates the Aleutians into the Bering Sea, with the next low pressure system showing up there in eastern Russia and out there in the western Aleutians. For low temperatures, Tuesday morning, 51 in Ketchikan, 52 in Sitka, 48 in Juneau, Anchorage 58, 55 in Homer, 53 in Kodiak, King Salmon 48, Fairbanks 56, 52, 50 in Eagle, 55 in Fort Yukon, Ukqiavik 30, Point Hope 38, Nome 46, Antioch 56, Cold Bay 48, Shemya 46, and St. Paul 45. For high temperatures Tuesday afternoon, looking at 59 in Ketchikan, 62 in Juneau, 65 in Anchorage, Talkeetna 63, 75 in Fairbanks, 74 in Eagle, 74 in Fort Yukon, Anaktuvuk 46, Ukiyavik 38, Point Hope 47, Nome 57, Galena 69, Antioch 74, Cold Bay 55, 50 out there in Shemya, St. Paul 52. For low temperatures Wednesday morning, looking at 51 for Ketchikan, 50 in Sitka, 48 in Juneau, 49 in Yakutat, 56 in Anchorage, 54 in Homer, 52 in Kodiak, 49 in King Salmon, Talkeetna 52, Fairbanks 53, 48 in Eagle, 49 in Fort Yukon, Anaktuvuk Pass 33, 31 in Ukiyavik, Point Hope 42, 49 in Nome, 51 in Galena, Antioch 53. And for high temperatures Wednesday afternoon, looking at 61 there in Ketchikan, 59 in Sitka, 61 in Juneau, 71 in Fairbanks, 47 in Anaktuvuk Pass, Ukiyavik 39, 54 in Nome, 65 in Antioch, Cold Bay 56. For the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, looking cooler all the time from July 17th to July 21, looking for cold tilts across much of the mainland, especially over the western interior and through the west coast. And then also the panhandle's looking for favored regions of below normal temperatures as well, and that extends over to south central and out through the Alaska Peninsula. For 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook from CPC, Climate Prediction Center, July 17th to July 21, looking at wetter conditions across the state as well, but especially across the interior.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the aviation forecast, starting with flying weather Tuesday morning, we'll be watching one low pressure system over there in the Bristol Bay region, bringing some IFR conditions there, and another system weakening in the Gulf of Alaska, bringing some areas of IFR conditions and some marginal conditions as well. Otherwise, another system comes across the North Slope, bringing some IFR conditions. Otherwise, we have some marginal conditions spreading from the North Slope down through the Seward Peninsula into much of the Bering and Aleutians, again for Tuesday morning. For Tuesday afternoon, continuing IFR conditions there on the North Slope, with the system beginning to stall out there. Otherwise, IFR conditions there in Alaska Peninsula as that low pressure system cuts across into the Gulf, weakening low in the Gulf of Alaska, bringing some areas of IFR conditions in the northern panhandle, otherwise marginal conditions throughout much of the panhandle into the southern mainland and south central area, otherwise marginal conditions through much of the Bering Sea and Aleutians. We do see that system beginning to show, the next system beginning to show up there just south of the western Aleutians there for Tuesday afternoon. For Wednesday morning, you see that system getting to bring IFR conditions to the western and central Aleutians, otherwise marginal conditions through much of the Bering, and marginal conditions through much of the southern mainland. Look for smoke as well. Otherwise, IFR conditions, again with that next system coming into the Gulf, bringing some IFR conditions through Kodiak Island area and portions of Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, some isolated areas of IFR conditions in the Panhandle and IFR conditions along the North Slope. For Wednesday afternoon, looking at marginal conditions through much of the southern mainland and into the Panhandle, again with IFR conditions for the southern end of the Panhandle and along the North Slope, and IFR conditions out there in the western and central Aleutians with the next system. Past conditions on Tuesday, Anaktuvuk marginal, decreasing to IFR conditions. Look for thunderstorms and smoke, especially in the southern entrance. Same scenario there for Adigan. Lake Clark and Merrill on the southern end Alaska range, looking at isolated to scattered thunderstorms showing up in the afternoon, especially over in the western entrance. But otherwise, VFR decreasing to marginal conditions. Rainy, went for straight marginal conditions there with, again, thunderstorms mostly on the western entrance. Windy, same kind of scenario there. Same for Isabel. And for Mentassa, went for marginal as well, with thunderstorms, especially near the mountains. And Tanita, marginal conditions with less chances of thunderstorms there. And for Portage, IFR conditions improving to marginal. Chilkoot went for marginal, decreasing to IFR conditions. For freezing level, Tuesday morning looking at 10,000 feet. Freezing level cutting across much of the mainland, otherwise an area of 6,000 feet cutting across the northwest portion of the state. The surface freezing level underneath that along the Arctic coast, otherwise around the Panhandle anywhere between 8 and 6,000 feet over there, and you get out there in the western Aleutians above 16,000 feet. For icing conditions on Tuesday, looking at 9,000 feet above for isolated moderate there in the northwest corner of the state. Otherwise, 8,000 feet and above for isolated moderate chances there and across much of the Panhandle. For the jet stream on Tuesday, looking at that low pressure system near the Bristol Bay region, driving northerly winds on the backside of that low, anywhere from 75 to 80 to 90, coming across the western portion of the mainland down into the central Bering Sea. Otherwise, some northerly flow cutting across the Panhandle and some westerlies cutting across the mainland. For 9,000 foot winds on Tuesday, that low pressure system there still analyzed with counterclockwise flow. Otherwise, northerly flow coming through the Bering Strait into the Bering Sea. And some westerly winds coming across with a weak low across the Brooks Range and some light variable winds there across the Panhandle. And for 3,000 feet winds, again, same kind of scenario with counterclockwise flow around a low in the Bristol Bay region, light and variable winds across the mainland. And for turbulence, no turbulence forecast on Tuesday.
Here at the end of the Earth, it still feels like a place for raw exploration and adventure. It's vast in all directions and ground zero for some of the biggest questions we have about the climate. But when we decided to make a series about the frozen places on Earth, we knew there would be one hurdle we would need to jump over first. What is the cryosphere?
The what?
Ooh.
I have no idea.
While I'm aware of the cryosphere, I don't actually know what it is.
It has something to do with ice. All right, that's all I got.
How do you get people acquainted with the cryosphere when most of us don't even know what it is?
Hey, so here we are in Washington, D.C., standing on the roof of NASA headquarters. That's the Capitol building right behind me. And what headquarters does is kind of serve as the focal point to connect the dots.
That's Dr. Tom Wagner, NASA's cryospheric program scientist at headquarters. In short, Tom is responsible for making sure NASA knows what the current status of the cryosphere is.
The cryosphere is everything from the snow that falls by your house to the icy reaches of the Himalayas, to the big ice sheets of Antarctica all the way at the South Pole, and also the frozen ground of the Arctic, and even some of that frozen ground that's currently under the ocean.
If you had to break it down, you'd have a mix of sea ice, snow cover, permafrost, ice sheets, and glaciers.
Right now, our best predictions are that sea levels will rise anywhere from 1 to 3 feet within the next 100 years. 3 feet of sea level rise has the potential to displace about 100 million people, which is a lot of people that need to find new homes.
Our current reality places us at a near tipping point, and the cryosphere is playing a huge part in that delicate balance.
So one of the things people don't know about NASA is that we study the Earth, and we've been doing that since NASA's inception back in the 1950s. And we study the frozen part of the Earth in a variety of ways.
Missions like SNOAX, Airborne Snow Observatory, Oceans Melting Greenland, Operation Icebridge, Arctic Boreal Vulnerability Experiment, and countless other labs and individual researchers stand at the forefront of monitoring the cryosphere. But this year was a particularly big year.
3, 2, 1, and liftoff of Grace Follow-On, continuing the legacy of the Grace mission of tracking the movement of water across our planet.
2 state-of-the-art satellite missions are being launched in a single year as part of a major attempt to understand Earth's frozen places. Our scientists are answering hard questions, sharing stories from the field, and giving their best predictions for what we can expect of a warming world. We're taking you with us as we follow NASA explorers on their journey to the frozen ends of the Earth as they study our rapidly changing world from satellites, planes, and boots on the ground.
What we can do really well from orbit is we can tell when a surface of land is covered in snow. What's tricky is though, how thick is that snow? And it's even trickier how much water is in that snow.
What we think of snow depends a lot on where it falls. If you live in the eastern US, maybe it's fun. Or maybe it's just a pain.
But if you live in parts of the world where they depend on the water that's in the snow for a large fraction of their total water that they use for drinking, for agriculture, for industry, or for hydropower, the snow is a very important natural resource. For example, in the western part of the United States, 80 to 90% of their renewable water comes from snow.
Snow is one part of the cryosphere that many of us have actually encountered before, but it also plays a critical role in regulating the Earth's climate. Through decades of remote sensing, NASA has kept a close eye on the ebb and flow of snow cover.
We now have a 52-year record of snow cover in the Northern Hemisphere, and we can see changes in the extent of snow cover over the time period, particularly in the last few decades, where we can see that the snow cover has been retreating. It's been melting a lot earlier in the springtime.
The extent is relatively easy to do, and it has been done over the years. What's tricky is though, how thick is that snow? And it's even trickier how much water is in that snow.
That tricky part is known as the snow-water equivalent, or how much water would actually be in a layer of snow if it melted. NASA and its partners have taken to the air to help solve this elusive mystery. First, there's the Airborne Snow Observatory, or ASO, a small plane outfitted with a couple of instruments, one of which measures snow depth using LiDAR. LiDAR measures distance using light from lasers. Since 2014, ASO has flown over basins in California and Colorado, taking before and after looks at snow depth. Scientists subtract the snow-free summer data from the snow-on winter data to get an idea of the snow depth. There's no single way to measure all types of snow across the globe, and so NASA's other airborne campaign, SNOAX, is testing different combinations of sensors. This winter, SNOAX will test a new instrument, the Snow-Water Equivalent Synthetic Aperture Radar and Radiometer, or SWISAR.
SWISAR consists of 2 main components, one of them being the radar and the second one being the radiometer.
So with the radar providing the depth of the snow and the radiometer providing the density of the snow, we could put those 2 things together and get the snow water equivalent Here in the chamber, we're going to measure different radiation patterns at our different frequencies and do some full system testing in this chamber. This chamber kind of enables us to isolate various types of radiation and interference. And in about a month, we're going to take the instrument, mount it on a twin otter in the Grand Mason, Colorado, and we're going to fly it over the Grand Mason, take various different measurements. This is what we call our engineering flight.
Making sure the sensors are calibrated is key in order to face the challenges nature will throw at them.
Half of the area that gets covered by snow every winter contains trees and forest. And the trees make it difficult for the sensors to see the snow that's underneath the trees, so it makes it difficult for us to measure how much snow there is. After the snow's had a chance to sit on the ground for a while, it gets denser and denser and denser over time, and it changes. Which is another reason why snow is very challenging to remotely sense. It doesn't stay the same. It's constantly changing. One of the things that we often do in the field is go dig what we call a snow pit. You literally dig a pit in the snow so we can see all the different layers. The layering is very important.
All this digging is part of ground truthing SNOWX, a way of matching up what the airborne instruments see and what is actually sitting on the surface. The ultimate goal of SNOWX is to figure out what the best combination of instruments would be for a future satellite mission in order to get a global picture of snow.
We need to know how much snow is in a snowpack, because if we have too much snow and the snow melts too fast, then you can get flooding. And if you don't have enough snow, or if the snow melts too early, that can lead to a longer wildfire season, a more intense drought, and we need to know these things for water resource planning.
After we had a record that was about 15-20 years long, we started noticing that the extent of the ice in the Arctic was getting smaller over time.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the marine forecast, starting with the ice edge, looks like we have some lower concentrations of ice forming on the south side of the ice pack there, and also some lower concentrations of ice along the Beaufort Sea coast. For the marine forecast for southeast, on Tuesday, inside waters winds generally from the south 10 to 15 with seas as high as 5 feet. Outside waters winds generally from a easterly direction 5 to 20 with seas as high as 7 feet. And for Wednesday, for southeast, inside waters winds generally from the south at 10 to 15 with seas as high as 3 feet. And for the outside waters, winds generally from the east at 15 to 20 with seas as high as 7 feet. For Tuesday's marine forecast for south central, Prince William Sound looks to be generally from a southeasterly direction to 10 with seas as high as 2 feet. For the Gulf region, winds anywhere between 10 to 25 from a southeasterly direction up to 5 feet. And for the Cook Inlet region, winds generally from a southerly direction 15 to 25 with seas as high as 6 feet. So look for a small craft advisory there in the Kamishak Bay region on Tuesday. For marine forecast for Wednesday, south central, Gulf region, winds generally from the east at 15, seas as high as 4 feet. Prince William Sound, winds variable up to 10 with seas as high as 2 feet. And for the Cook Inlet region, winds generally from the south at 15 to 25 with seas as high as 5 feet. For Tuesday's marine forecast for Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island on Tuesday, around Kodiak Island, winds generally from a southerly direction 15 to 20 with seas as high as 6 feet. Southside Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from the west at 25, seas as high as 7 feet. And for the north side Alaska Peninsula, winds generally variable direction 10 to 20 with seas as high as 4 feet. For Wednesday's forecast, around Kodiak Island, winds generally from a variable direction 15 to 25 with seas as high as 7 feet. And for the south side Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from the northwest at 25, seas as high as 7 feet. And for the north side Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from the west at 20 to 25 with seas as high as 5 feet. For the Aleutians on Tuesday, winds generally from a westerly direction 10 to 25 with seas as high as 6 feet. Look for small craft advisory just south of Unalaska there on Tuesday. And for Wednesday's marine forecast, ocean chain winds generally from a variable direction, 10 to 25, with seas high as 6 feet. And for West Coast, winds generally from a northerly direction, 15 to 20, with seas as high as 4 feet. And that's for Tuesday. And for Wednesday, winds generally from a westerly direction, 10 to 25, with seas as high as 8 feet there around St. Matthew Island. So look for a small craft advisory there on Wednesday. For Tuesday's marine forecast for the Arctic coast, on Tuesday, winds along the Beaufort Sea coast, winds from a northerly direction to 10. Over there on the Chukchi Sea coast, winds generally from a northerly direction as well, up to 10 with seas high as 2 feet. Down through the Bering Strait, winds from the north at 15 with seas as high as 4 feet. And for Wednesday's Arctic coast forecast, along the Beaufort Sea coast, winds generally from a variable direction to 10. For the Chukchi Sea coast, winds generally from the east at 10 to 15 with seas high as 3 feet. And down through the Bering Strait, winds generally from a southerly direction 10 to 15 with seas as high as 6 feet. So for the weather map on tonight's weather, looking at that low pressing through the Bristol Bay region, 1,005 millibars there, with a warm front, cold front, some precipitation associated with that through the region, some fog along the northwest coast, otherwise high pressure ridge poking into the Bering Sea, and that extends up into the northwest coast. Otherwise some thunder showers extending through the interior and some smoke associated with that. Otherwise weakening low in the Gulf of Alaska, 1,010 millibars there, with some light rain showers across the panhandle. For Tuesday's weather, that low crosses the Alaska Peninsula, now 1,000 millibars there, with some precipitation throughout much of the southwest Bristol Bay region. Thunderstorms continue to be a good possibility on Tuesday, with smoke through much of the interior around that thermal low. Otherwise, some mixed precipitation and below normal temperatures expected across the Brooks Range, North Slope, as that ridge of high pressure pokes into the Bering Sea, 1,020 millibars there, and that extends up into the northwest coast.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.